Dr. Sarah Chen stood in the observation deck of the International Space Station, staring at something that shouldn't exist. A massive structure had appeared 3 days ago, just beyond Earth's moon. It was bigger than anything humanity had ever built. The ship looked like a crystal palace floating in the darkness of space, glowing with soft blue light. Sarah was a diplomat. She had spent 20 years working with different countries, helping them solve problems and avoid wars. But nothing in her training had prepared her for this moment. Aliens were real. They were here, and they wanted to talk. The message had come through every communication system on Earth at the same time. Television, radio, internet, even old telegraph machines that hadn't been used in decades suddenly came to life. The message was simple and clear, translated perfectly into every human language. Humanity, you are summoned to appear before the Galactic Council. A transport will arrive for your representatives in 72 hours. Do not be late. That was it. No explanation. No introduction. Just a command. Sarah had been chosen to lead Earth's delegation. Along with her were 6 others. Marcus Webb, a young diplomat known for thinking outside the box. General Patricia Morrison, a military strategist. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, a physicist. Ambassador James Okonkwo, an expert in conflict resolution. Dr. Aliyah Patel, a biologist. And Professor Chen Wei, a historian now, as the deadline approached. A smaller ship had detached from the massive structure. It moved toward the space station with impossible smoothness, making no sound, leaving no exhaust trail. It simply glided through space as if the laws of physics were mere suggestions. The ship docked with the station. Sarah and her team gathered near the airlock, each wearing their finest formal clothes. Sarah had chosen a simple black suit. She wanted to look professional, serious, ready for whatever came next. The airlock opened. A figure stepped through, and Sarah felt her breath catch in her throat. The being was tall, taller than any human, and seemed to be made of light itself. Its form shifted and changed, sometimes appearing solid, sometimes transparent. When it spoke, its voice came from everywhere and nowhere at once. I am a collector. I will transport you to the council. Follow me. The being turned and walked back into its ship. Sarah exchanged glances with her team. Marcus looked excited. General Morrison looked tense. Dr. Tanaka was already taking notes. They followed the collector inside. The interior of the ship was unlike anything they had imagined. The walls seemed to be made of flowing water that never fell. Lights floated in the air without any visible source. The floor felt solid, but looked like empty space, showing the stars beneath their feet. Please sit, the collector said, gesturing to seats that hadn't been there a moment before. The journey took 3 days. During that time, the collector said almost nothing. It provided food that tasted like whatever the person eating it most desired. It answered no questions. It simply watched them with eyes that seemed to see through them. Sarah tried to prepare her team. They reviewed everything humanity knew about first contact protocols. They practiced speeches. They studied the limited information they had gathered from the council's message. But deep down, Sarah knew they were walking into this blind. On the 3rd day, they arrived. The council station was beyond massive. It was a structure so large that it had its own gravity, its own atmosphere, its own weather systems visible through transparent domes. Thousands of ships of all shapes and sizes orbited around it. Sarah realized with a sinking feeling that each ship probably represented a different alien species. Humanity was very late to this party. The collector led them through corridors filled with beings that Sarah's mind struggled to comprehend. Creatures made of metal. Beings that floated like smoke. Things that looked like walking plants. Others that seemed to exist in more dimensions than Sarah could see. Their forms shifting and folding in ways that hurt to look at. Finally, they entered the council chamber. It was a vast circular room with seats rising up in tiers all around. 47 seats, Sarah counted. 47 alien species, all staring down at the 7 humans standing in the center of the floor. At the highest point sat a being that could only be the leader. It looked like a massive crystal formation, constantly growing and reshaping itself. Light refracted through its body in rainbow patterns. When it spoke, the sound resonated through Sarah's entire body. I am the architect. I speak for the Galactic Council. Humanity, you have been summoned to answer for your actions. Sarah stepped forward. Her heart was pounding, but she kept her voice steady. We are honored to meet the Council. What actions are we being called to answer for? The architect's light pulsed. Your species has developed nuclear weapons. You have wars. You destroy your own planet. You broadcast signals into space without understanding the dangers. You develop artificial intelligence without proper controls. In short, you are a threat. General Morrison tensed beside Sarah. She could feel the anger radiating from her team, but she raised a hand slightly, signaling them to stay calm. With respect, Sarah said carefully, we are still learning. We're a young species. Surely young, the architect interrupted. Yes, young and dangerous. The Council has seen species like yours before. We know how this story ends. You will expand into space. You will take resources you have no claim to. You will bring your violence and chaos to the galaxy. This cannot be allowed, another council member spoke, a being that looked like a living flame. The Council offers you a choice, humans. Accept our terms or face consequences. A holographic document appeared in the air in front of Sarah. She began reading, and with each line her hope sank further. The terms were impossible. Humanity would be forbidden from leaving their solar system. All weapons development would stop. Population growth would be limited. Artificial intelligence research would be banned. Earth would essentially become a prison, watched and controlled by these alien powers. You have 30 days to decide, the architect said. Choose submission or choose destruction. There is no third option. The collector appeared beside them. It is time to return you to Earth. The journey back was silent. Sarah's team sat in shock, processing what had just happened. Humanity had finally met alien life, and it had turned into an ultimatum. Submit or die. As Earth came back into view, Sarah looked at her team. We need to figure this out. We need to find a way through this. Marcus Webb spoke quietly from his seat. Maybe we're thinking about this wrong. Sarah turned to him. What do you mean? Marcus was staring out at the stars. They gave us 2 options. But what if we don't choose either one? Before Sarah could respond, they were back at the space station. The collector deposited them without a word and disappeared. Sarah and her team were left floating in the observation deck looking down at their planet. Knowing that everything had just changed forever, 30 days. They had 30 days to save humanity. The clock was ticking. Sarah sat in the emergency meeting room deep beneath the United Nations building in New York. Around the tables sat representatives from every major nation on Earth. The room was filled with tension so thick she could almost touch it. On the screen in front of them, the Council's demands scrolled by in bullet points. Each one was worse than the last. This is insane, the Russian ambassador said, slamming his hand on the table. They want us to stop all space exploration beyond Mars. To destroy our weapons? To limit how many children people can have. The Chinese representative nodded grimly. If we accept these terms, our civilization stops growing. We become frozen in time while they continue to advance. In 100 years, we would be so far behind them that we could never catch up. Sarah had spent the last week analyzing every word of the Council's ultimatum. She had read it so many times she could recite it from memory. The more she read, the more convinced she became that the Council had designed these terms to be impossible to accept. They don't expect us to agree, she said quietly. The room fell silent. Everyone turned to look at her. What do you mean? The American president asked. Sarah stood up and walked to the screen. She pointed at the terms. Look at this carefully. These demands would cripple us. They would destroy our economy, our freedom, our future. No civilization would accept these terms voluntarily. General Morrison, who had been sitting quietly in the corner, spoke up. So you think they want us to refuse? So they can attack us? Maybe, Sarah said. Or maybe they want us to fight back. Think about it. We have 2 choices. Submit like cowards or fight back like warriors. Either way, they win. If we submit, we're no longer a threat. If we fight, they probably crush us easily, and everyone sees what happens to species who resist the Council. Dr. Tanaka pulled up a new document on his tablet. I've been analyzing the communications we intercepted from the Council. There's something interesting here. He projected the data onto the main screen. They've been talking about us, discussing humanity, and the words they use are revealing. The screen showed translated conversations between council members. Sarah read through them quickly. Words jumped out at her: primitive, emotional, irrational, unpredictable, dangerous. They're afraid of us, Marcus said from his seat near the back. Everyone turned to look at him. He stood up, walking to the front of the room. I know that sounds crazy. We're one planet. There are 47 civilizations that have ruled the galaxy for millions of years. But read these messages. They're not treating us like an annoying insect. They're treating us like a genuine threat. Ambassador Okonkwo leaned forward. But why? What could we possibly have that threatens them? Marcus pulled up another file. I've been researching every council species we can find information about, and I've noticed something. All of them are old. Really old. The youngest species on the council has been part of galactic civilization for 100,000 years. Most have been around for millions of years. The British representative asked. So they're stable, Marcus continued. They have ancient traditions, rigid hierarchies, fixed ways of doing things. They take themselves very seriously. Every single one of them built their civilizations on honor, tradition, and strict rules. He paused, looking around the room. We're not like that at all. Sarah felt something click in her mind. She saw where Marcus was going with this. We're chaotic, she said softly. Exactly, Marcus said, his eyes lighting up. We're unpredictable. We change fast. We break our own rules. We improvise. We adapt. And I think that terrifies them because they can't model it. They can't predict what we'll do. General Morrison frowned. Even if that's true, how does it help us? We still have to give them an answer in 3 weeks. The room fell silent again. Sarah walked back to her seat, her mind racing. There had to be a way out of this. Some angle they weren't seeing. Some option beyond submit or fight. What if we don't play their game? The words came out before she fully realized she was saying them. Everyone stared at her. Explain. The American president said. Sarah took a deep breath. They've given us 2 options. Both options lead to outcomes they've prepared for. They have protocols for species that submit. They have protocols for species that resist. What if we do something they haven't prepared for? Something they can't predict? Like what? Ambassador Okonkwo asked. Sarah looked at Marcus. You said they take themselves very seriously, that they're all about honor and tradition and rules. Marcus nodded slowly. Yes, every culture we've studied shows that pattern. Then what if we show up and treat the whole thing as if it's not serious at all? The room erupted in protests. Multiple people started talking at once. The French ambassador stood up. You want to joke with them? While they're threatening to destroy us? Not joke, Sarah said, raising her voice to be heard over the noise. I want to make it impossible for them to maintain their threatening posture. I want to break their script. If they can't predict us, if they can't fit us into their understanding of how species behave, they can't execute their plan. General Morrison shook her head. This is insane. We should be preparing for war, not comedy. We can't win a war against them, Dr. Patel said quietly. She had been silent until now, but everyone respected her analysis. I've been studying the data from their ship. The technology gap is enormous. If they decide to destroy us, there's nothing we can do to stop them. Military options are off the table, so we just give up. Someone asked. No, Sarah said firmly. We change the game. We do what humans do best. We improvise. We adapt. We survive by not fighting the way they expect us to fight. Marcus was nodding enthusiastically now. We could throw them completely off balance. Make them confused. Make their threat impossible to deliver with a straight face. The American president leaned back in his chair, studying Sarah. "This is the craziest diplomatic strategy I've ever heard, and I have no idea if it would work. But I also don't see any other options that give us a chance." Over the next 2 weeks, Sarah's team worked around the clock. They studied every council species they could find information about. They looked for weaknesses, for blind spots, for anything they could use. And what they found was consistent. Every single one of these species was formal, serious, and bound by tradition. Marcus put together what he called the performance. It was part diplomatic response, part theater, part controlled chaos. When he showed it to Sarah, she laughed until she cried. Then she got scared. Then she realized it might actually work. The night before they were scheduled to return to the council, Sarah couldn't sleep. She stood in her apartment, looking out at the city lights of New York. Somewhere up there, the council was waiting for humanity's answer. They expected submission or defiance. They were going to get something else entirely. Sarah's phone buzzed. It was a message from Marcus. "The team is ready. The world is watching. Let's make history." She smiled. Tomorrow, humanity would face the council again. But this time, they wouldn't be playing by the council's rules. This time, they would show the galaxy what humans were really capable of. And if it went wrong, well, at least they would go down in the most interesting way possible. Sarah finally fell asleep around 3 in the morning. She dreamed of crystal beings trying to understand human laughter and failing completely. When she woke up, she was still smiling. It was time to teach the galaxy that sometimes the best weapon against a threat is. To refuse to take it seriously, the collector arrived exactly on time. It stepped through the airlock of the space station and stopped abruptly when it saw the human delegation waiting for it. Sarah stood at the front of the group, wearing her formal black suit. Beside her, Marcus wore a Hawaiian shirt covered in bright flowers. General Morrison had on her full military dress uniform. Dr. Tanaka wore a traditional Japanese kimono. Ambassador Okonkwo wore colorful African robes. Dr. Patel had chosen a brilliant red sari, and Professor Chenwei was wearing a full dinosaur costume. A T-Rex, to be specific, with tiny arms and everything. The collector stared at them for a long moment. Its form flickered with what might have been confusion. "Is your delegation ready?" it finally asked. "Absolutely," Sarah said with a bright smile. "We're very excited for this meeting." The journey to the council station was different this time. The collector kept glancing at Professor Chenwei, who sat perfectly still in his dinosaur suit, occasionally making small roaring sounds. Marcus had brought a portable speaker and was playing what he called elevator music at low volume. General Morrison sat reading a book titled How to Win Friends and Influence Aliens. When they arrived at the council chamber, the architect was already in position, along with all 47 council members. The room was filled with the same formal, serious atmosphere as before. The aliens sat in their tiered seats, looking down at the humans with expressions that ranged from curious to hostile. "Humanity," the architect's voice resonated through the chamber. "You have had 30 days to consider our terms. What is your answer?" Sarah stepped forward. The lights in the room focused on her. She could feel the weight of billions of eyes watching through cameras that were broadcasting this moment across Earth. Sarah said, "I want to thank you all for your very helpful feedback on humanity's development. We really appreciate you taking the time to point out our flaws. It shows you care." There was a moment of confused silence. The council members looked at each other. "This was not how species usually responded to ultimatums," Sarah continued, her voice cheerful and sincere. "We've taken your concerns very seriously. In fact, we've prepared our own proposal in response. If we could have the screen, please." She nodded to Marcus, who pulled out a tablet. A holographic display appeared in the center of the chamber. On it was a presentation titled Humanities. Awesome response to the Galactic Council. First slide showed a picture of Earth with a smiley face. Drawn on it, the architect's crystal form pulsed, with what might have been irritation. "What is this?" "This is our response," Sarah said. "Marcus, next slide, please." Marcus clicked to the next slide. It showed a bullet point list: Council demands versus human counter demands. You want us to stop space exploration? We want you to give us one medium-sized moon, slightly used, good condition. You want us to destroy our weapons? We want you to provide 17 space whales for emotional support. You want to limit our population. We want unlimited breadsticks at council meetings. A council member who looked like a floating jellyfish spoke up, its voice full of anger. This is an insult. You dare to mock us? Mock you? Sarah looked genuinely confused. No, these are serious proposals. We really need those space whales. Have you seen how stressful first contact is? Professor Chenwei chose this moment to raise his tiny dinosaur arms and make a sad roaring sound. The chamber erupted in confused chattering. Council members were talking to each other in dozens of different languages. The architect's light pulsed rapidly. Silence, the architect commanded. The room went quiet. Humanity, you do not seem to understand the gravity of this situation. We are offering you a chance to survive. We could destroy your planet with a single thought. Right. Marcus raised his hand like a student in class. Have you tried turning it off and on again? What? The architect's voice actually sounded baffled. Your planet-destroying thing, Marcus said helpfully. Sometimes technology just needs a good restart. Works for our computers all the time. Sarah pulled out her phone. Oh, actually, I'm going to live stream this if that's okay. The folks back on Earth really want to see this meeting. She tapped her phone, and suddenly millions of humans were watching the council chamber in real time. You cannot, the architect started to say. Oh, it's already started, Sarah said. She waved at the camera. Hi, Earth. We're at the council meeting. Everyone say hi to the architect. She turned the camera toward the massive crystal being back on Earth. No. Sarah knew that people were watching this in bars and homes and public squares, and she knew that Marcus had prepared some people to flood the chat with comments. Her phone buzzed with notifications. Look, Sarah said, reading them out loud. User Stargazer420 asks if the architect is single. User Cosmic Dan wants to know if you've accepted our Lord and Savior. And someone named Bing Bong Valian says Crystal Daddy can't hurt us. It's just shy. The architect's form was flickering wildly now. This is completely inappropriate. A council member that looked like a being made of flowing metal spoke up. Architect, I do not understand what is happening. Is this a human negotiation tactic? We prefer to call it vibing, Marcus said. Another council member, this one resembling a living storm cloud, floated forward. Enough of this nonsense. Humans, we present you with evidence of your crimes. A new holographic display appeared, showing images of war, pollution, nuclear explosions, and environmental destruction. You are violent. You destroy your own world. You create weapons of mass death. How do you answer these charges? Sarah looked at the images and nodded seriously. Yeah, that's fair. We're definitely still working through some issues. Humanity is kind of in beta testing right now. We're aware of the bugs and we're planning to patch them in the next update. Beta testing. The storm cloud sounded incredulous. Version 0.7, technically, Marcus added. We're hoping to hit version 1.0 in a few thousand years. We know there are some serious glitches. Sarah stepped closer to the display of humanity's problems. But here's the thing. Every species in this council has done the same stuff. You've all had wars. You've all made mistakes. You've all gone through growing pains. The only difference is you've had millions of years to bury the evidence and pretend you were always perfect. She pulled up her own data on her tablet. The Vorgons had a nuclear war that destroyed half their planet 500,000 years ago. The Crystalline Collective used to practice ritual genocide. The methane breathers poisoned 3 different worlds before they figured out environmental protection. Should I go on? The council chamber went very quiet. Sarah had hit a nerve. The difference between you and us, Sarah continued, is that we're honest about our problems. We know we're messy. We know we're chaotic. We know we make mistakes. But we also fix them. We learn. We grow. And we do it fast. The architect's light dimmed slightly. You admit you are dangerous, sure, Sarah said with a shrug. But so are you. The question isn't whether we're dangerous. The question is what we do with that danger. And here's our actual proposal. Her tone shifted. becoming more serious even as Professor Chen Wei continued to stand in his dinosaur costume behind her. Instead of limiting us, work with us. Give us mentors from your civilizations. Let us learn from your mistakes instead of making all of them ourselves. Let us join the galactic community as junior members, with supervision, with guidance. We're not asking for freedom to do whatever we want. We're asking for a chance to grow up with help instead of growing up in isolation, Marcus added. Plus, think about it. We're entertaining. Your council meetings look boring. We could liven things up. Younger council member, representing a species that looked like upright walking cats, spoke for the first time. I will admit, this is the most interesting council session I have attended in 3,000 years. The architect turned its light toward the cat being. This is not about entertainment. Why not? The cat being asked, when was the last time anything unexpected happened in this chamber? When was the last time any species surprised us? These humans are rude, yes. They are irreverent, yes. But they are also refreshing. Other council members started arguing. Some were angry at humanity's disrespect. Others were intrigued by Sarah's actual proposal. A few seemed amused by the whole situation. The chamber descended into chaos. Sarah watched it all and realized something important. They had broken the script. The council didn't know what to do with them anymore. And in that confusion, there was opportunity. The architect finally raised its voice above the noise. Enough. The council will adjourn to discuss this privately. Humans, you will wait. The collector appeared and led them to a waiting room. As soon as they were alone, General Morrison turned to Sarah. Did that actually just work? Sarah sat down heavily. I have absolutely no idea. In the council's private chamber. The architect was experiencing something it had not felt in several million years. Complete and utter confusion. The chamber was sealed off from the humans, but the council members were anything but quiet. Voices in a dozen different languages filled the space, all talking over each other. This is an outrage, the metal being shouted. They made a mockery of our authority. The cat being was laughing. Actually laughing. Did you see the architect's light pulse when they asked about space whales? I have never seen anything like it. This is not funny, the storm cloud being rumbled. They threatened to broadcast everything. The entire galaxy watched us lose control of the situation. The architect tried to restore order. Council members, please. We must decide how to proceed. A being that looked like a walking tree spoke in a slow, deep voice. I have observed life for 800,000 years. I have seen warrior races that conquered with strength. I have seen diplomatic races that won with words. I have seen hive minds that overwhelmed with numbers. But I have never seen a species weaponize humor and chaos. The floating jellyfish creature pulsed with anger. We should destroy them immediately. They are clearly too unpredictable to be allowed into the galactic community. On what grounds? The cat being asked, they violated no laws. They have not attacked us. They have not rejected our authority outright. They simply made us look foolish. Exactly my point, the jellyfish said. The architect's light dimmed as it processed the situation. For millions of years, the council had operated on a simple system. Species either submitted to their authority or were crushed. There was no middle ground. But the humans had found a third option. They had made it impossible for the council to maintain its threatening posture without looking ridiculous. We could still attack them, the metal being suggested. Show the galaxy what happens to species that disrespect us. And what would that accomplish? The tree being asked, we would be the ancient, powerful civilizations that destroyed a young species because they made jokes. How would that make us look? The storm cloud rumbled thoughtfully. The humans were correct about one thing. We all have dark histories. We have all done terrible things on our path to civilization, but we had millions of years to become respectable. They have had mere thousands of years, and they are already trying to improve. The architect pulled up the data on humanity that they had been collecting. Wars? Yes. Environmental damage? Yes. Weapons? Yes. But also art, music, literature, scientific advancement at a pace that was actually alarming. Humans had gone from discovering fire to splitting the atom in just a few thousand years. Most species took millions of years to make that journey. They are dangerous, the architect said quietly. Not because they are violent, because they change so fast. In a few hundred years, they could be as advanced as any of us. In a few thousand, they could surpass us. The cat being nodded. Yes, and that terrifies you. It terrifies all of us, because we have been the dominant powers for so long that we have forgotten what it is like to face something we cannot predict or control. Meanwhile, in the waiting room, Sarah and her team were dealing with their own crisis. Professor Chen Wei had taken off the dinosaur head and was eating a sandwich. Marcus was monitoring the live stream on his phone. We have 3 billion viewers right now, he said. Earth is completely glued to this. There are watch parties in every city. General Morrison paced back and forth. We might have just started a war with the most powerful civilizations in the galaxy because of space whale jokes. Or Dr. Tanaka said optimistically, we might have just saved humanity by being so weird that they don't know how to classify us. Sarah was running through scenarios in her head. The Council could still decide to destroy Earth. They could imprison the delegation. They could impose the original restrictions. Or, just maybe, they might consider the actual proposal she had made beneath all the chaos. The door opened. Not the collector, but the cat being from the Council. Up close, Sarah could see that its fur was a deep purple color, and its eyes were bright green. It sat down across from Sarah without asking permission. I am called Whisper of Stars, it said. Its voice was surprisingly gentle. I wanted to speak with you privately. Sarah straightened up. Should I be worried? Whisper of Stars made a sound that might have been a purr. Perhaps, but not for the reasons you think. The Council is divided. Some want to destroy you. Some want to imprison you. Some want to accept your proposal. And a few of us are simply enjoying the chaos you have caused. Which category are you in? Marcus asked. The last one, Whisper of Stars said. My species joined the Council only 100,000 years ago. We are the youngest members. And in those 100,000 years, I have watched this Council become more and more rigid. More and more afraid of change. Your performance today was rude. Yes. But it was also honest. You showed us what we have become, ancient beings, too scared to deal with anything that does not fit our expectations. Sarah leaned forward. Can you help us? Whisper Vesters was quiet for a moment. I cannot promise anything. But I can tell you that the architect is struggling with a problem. In all its millions of years, it has never encountered a situation like this. You cannot be threatened because you do not take threats seriously. You cannot be reasoned with in traditional ways because you do not respect tradition. You are, in the most literal sense, incomprehensible to most of the Council. Is that good or bad? Dr. Patel asked. Both Whisper of Stars said. It means they cannot easily destroy you without looking petty. But it also means they do not trust you. The Council fears chaos above all else, and you are chaos incarnate. The cat bean stood up to leave. My advice? When you go back in there, be honest. Your jokes and your performance got their attention. But your actual proposal was good. Focus on that. Show them that beneath the chaos, you are serious about wanting to join the galactic community in a responsible way. After Whisper of Stars left, Sarah gathered her team. Okay, when we go back in there, we need to find the balance. We can't back down and be serious the whole time, or we lose what made them pause. But we also need to show them we're not just joking around. How do we do that? General Morrison asked. Sarah thought about it. We be ourselves. We're human. We're chaotic and funny and creative, but we're also capable of incredible things when we need to be. We show them both sides. The collector appeared at the door. The Council is ready for you. They walked back into the chamber. The atmosphere had changed. The Council members looked tired. The architect's light was dimmer than before. Humanity, the architect began. You have presented us with a unique problem. We cannot allow you to continue unchecked. But we also cannot ignore that your actual proposal has merit. We are at an impasse. Sarah stepped forward. This was the moment that mattered. May I speak honestly? You have been doing nothing but speaking honestly, the architect said dryly. Sarah smiled at that. Fair point. Here's the truth. We're scared. We're a young species that just found out we're not alone in the universe. And instead of welcoming us, you threatened us. So we responded the only way we know how, by refusing to let you make us feel small. But underneath the jokes and the chaos, we really do want to learn from you. We want to be part of something bigger than ourselves. We want to grow up and become a responsible member of the galactic community. She paused, looking around at all 47 council members. But we want to do it as humans, not as copies of you. We want to keep our creativity, our humor, our ability to surprise people. Because maybe, just maybe, the galaxy needs a little chaos. Maybe things have been so stable for so long that you've forgotten how to adapt. And when the next real crisis comes, maybe having some unpredictable humans around will be useful. The chamber was silent. Then, slowly, whisper via stars began to purr. The sound grew louder. Sarah realized the cat being was laughing. The council chamber remained silent for what felt like an eternity. Sarah could hear her own heartbeat. She could feel the weight of billions of people back on Earth watching and waiting. Everything came down to this moment. The architect's crystal form shifted, light refracting through its body in complex patterns. When it finally spoke, its voice was different. Less commanding, more thoughtful. In 3 million years of existence, it said slowly, I have presided over this council. I have welcomed 46 species into galactic civilization. I have seen empires rise and fall. I have witnessed the birth and death of stars. And in all that time, I have never been uncertain about what to do. Until now, the architect paused, its light pulsing gently. Humanity, you have broken every protocol we have. You have made a mockery of our traditions. You have turned our ultimatum into a joke. And yet, double quote, Sarah held her breath. And yet, you have also shown us something we had forgotten. You have shown us what it means to be young, to be uncertain, to be afraid, and still face that fear with courage and humor. You have reminded us that there are other ways to be strong besides ancient power and rigid tradition. The metal being spoke up, its voice less angry now and more curious. What are you saying, architect? The architect turned its attention to the council. I am saying that we have a choice. We can destroy this species for daring to challenge our authority. We can imprison them on their own world. Or we can do something we have not done in a very long time. We can take a risk. The storm cloud being rumbled. What kind of risk? We can accept their proposal, the architect said. The chamber erupted in shocked voices. The architect's light flared brightly, demanding silence. Not completely. Not without conditions. But we can offer them a path forward that is neither submission nor destruction. I support this. My species remembers what it was like to be young, to be judged by ancient powers. The council showed us mercy when we were reckless. Perhaps it is time to extend that same mercy to humanity. The tree being spoke in its slow, deep voice. I have a proposal. We offer humanity probationary membership in the council. They will be allowed to expand into space, but under supervision. They will be assigned mentors from our species who will guide their development. They will have a voice in council decisions, but not a vote until they prove themselves ready. For how long? The jellyfish creature asked. 1,000 years, the tree being said. A mere moment for us, but many generations for them. Time enough to see if they can mature without losing what makes them unique. Sarah felt hope rising in her chest, but she kept her expression neutral. This was better than she had dared to dream, but she needed to hear all the conditions. The architect addressed the council. All those in favor of extending probationary membership to humanity, signal now. Lights appeared throughout the chamber. Sarah counted quickly. 29 lights. More than half the council. The motion passes, the architect said. Then it turned to Sarah. But there are conditions. We're listening, Sarah said. First, you will accept mentors from 5 different council species. They will have the authority to monitor your development and intervene if necessary. Second, any weapons research or space expansion must be approved by your mentors before proceeding. Third, you will attend all council meetings and participate in galactic affairs, learning how civilized species conduct themselves. Marcus raised his hand. Question about that last one. Do we have to be serious at these meetings, or can we still be ourselves? The architect's light flickered in what might have been amusement. You may be yourselves. In fact, after today's performance, I suspect we could not stop you if we tried. Sarah stepped forward. We accept these conditions. But we have one request of our own. The council went quiet. The architect's light pulsed. You are in no position to make demands. Not a demand, Sarah said quickly. A request. A small one, speak the architect said. Sarah smiled. The next council meeting. We'd like to host it on Earth. Just once. Let you all see our planet, meet our people, experience our culture. We promise to provide much better food than whatever you usually serve at these things. The jellyfish creature made a sputtering sound. Absolutely not. That would be interesting. Whisper of Stars interrupted. It would be interesting. I have never been to Earth. I would like to see the world that produces such strange beings. The tree being nodded its massive head. I agree. If we are to mentor this species, we should understand their home, their culture, their way of life. The architect considered this. Very well. 1 year from now, we will convene a council meeting on Earth. But I warn you, humans, if you embarrass us in front of the entire galaxy, there will be consequences. Sarah grinned. We'll be on our best behavior. Mostly. The formal ceremony that followed was surprisingly simple. Sarah, as Earth's representative, swore an oath to uphold the principles of the Galactic Council while maintaining humanity's sovereignty. The architect formally welcomed humanity as probationary members. And just like that, after thousands of years of wondering if they were alone in the universe, humanity officially joined galactic civilization as the ceremony concluded. Various council members approached the human delegation. Some wanted to examine Professor Chen Wei's dinosaur costume more closely. Others asked about the space whales from the presentation, wondering if humans actually had such creatures. A few simply wanted to talk, curious about this strange new species. The metal being approached Sarah. I voted against you, it said bluntly. I want you to know that. Appreciate the honesty, Sarah said. I will be one of your mentors, it continued. The council assigned me to oversee your weapons development. I suspect I will regret this assignment, but I am bound by the council's decision. Sarah extended her hand for a handshake. The metal being looked at it in confusion. It's how we greet people, Sarah explained. A sign of respect and friendship. Slowly, the metal being extended its own limb and grasped Sarah's hand. Its surface was cool and smooth. I am called Forjuve Sons. I will try to be patient with your species, and will try not to drive you crazy, Sarah said. No promises, though. Forjo Sons made a sound that might have been a sigh. I believe I understand why the architect looked so tired after meeting with you. The journey back to Earth was celebratory. The collector, who had been silent throughout everything, actually spoke to them. I have transported many species to council meetings, it said. None have ever done what you did today. It was ... memorable? Good memorable or bad memorable? Marcus asked. Time will tell, the collector said. But Sarah thought she detected something like amusement in its shifting form. When they arrived back at the space station, they found that Earth had been celebrating for hours. The news of humanity's acceptance into the council had spread instantly. Cities around the world were filled with people dancing, cheering, crying with relief and joy. Sarah's team gathered one last time in the observation deck, looking down at their planet. The world that had been under threat of destruction was now part of something bigger. Part of a galactic community that spanned millions of years and countless civilizations. We actually did it, General Morrison said quietly. I still can't believe we did it. We got lucky, Dr. Tanaka said. If the council had been even a little less rigid, our plan would never have worked. It wasn't luck, Dr. Patel said. It was understanding. We understood that they were so serious that they couldn't handle chaos, so we gave them chaos until they had to adapt. Marcus was grinning. And now we have to host a council meeting on Earth. Can you imagine all those ancient alien species trying to navigate New York City? Trying to eat at a food truck? Dealing with traffic? Sarah laughed at the image. Then she sobered slightly. We have a lot of work ahead of us. We have to prove we deserve this chance. We have to show them that humanity can be responsible members of the galactic community. While still being ourselves, Marcus added. While still being ourselves, Sarah agreed. Professor Chenwei, still in his dinosaur costume, raised his tiny arms. To humanity, he said solemnly. May we always be too weird to predict and too stubborn to give up? They all raised imaginary glasses to toast with him. 1 year later, the Galactic Council did indeed convene on Earth. The meeting was held in a specially constructed building in Geneva. Council members arrived on ships that parked in orbit, causing traffic jams in space. Earth rolled out the red carpet, showing the galaxy the best of human culture. Music, art, food from every nation, technology, science, and yes, even some carefully controlled chaos. The architect tried Earth pizza and declared it acceptable. Whisper of Stars fell in love with catnip. Forge of Sones was scandalized by human action movies, but watched 3 of them anyway. The tree being spent hours in the Amazon rainforest. And the storm cloud being got into a lengthy discussion with a group of meteorologists about weather patterns. During the formal meeting, Sarah presented humanity's first-year progress report. They had made mistakes, certainly. But they had also learned, grown, and contributed ideas to the council that no one had thought of before. Their chaos had started to rub off on the older species in small but meaningful ways. At the end of the meeting, the architect approached Sarah privately. I was wrong about your species, it said. Oh, Sarah asked. I thought you were dangerous because you were chaotic, but I have learned that you are dangerous because you remind us that we have become stagnant. You force us to adapt, to change, to remember what it is like to be uncertain. The galaxy needed that reminder. The architect paused, its light pulsing gently. Thank you for turning our threats into a joke. In doing so, you may have saved not just your species, but all of us from our own rigidity. You're welcome. But fair warning, we're just getting started. Wait until you see what we have planned for the next council meeting. The architect's light flickered with what was definitely amusement. I am terrified already, somewhere in that moment, as the most ancient being in the galaxy learned to laugh at itself. The universe became a little bit brighter.